Yeah. So I'm assuming they're gonna go Tracer. At that point, you want your Tracer and your Echo in particular to kind of just get in a lot of early damage before they can actually get a dive in. Either that, or you can try to play a bit more defensively, wait for their dive engages, have your Echo play defensively, and use the like Sticky Bomb and Beam to kind of just burst down literally anything and everything that moves in your general direction. Since they are taking this TP out, they won't have a Tracer. At least they won't have a Tracer for this next like upcoming team fight, just because she's either going to have to take a really long walk or triple blink in, which means your Tracer is going to have an opportunity to take a more aggressive angle than you would want normally. I'm not sure if you guys can really catch that at this instance.
We both TP'd out, by the way. Both teams TP'd
Yeah,
out.
but your Echo can afford to TP out. I'm not sure really why they went for Tracer, because your Echo can just fly up and already spam in bombs from choke anyway.
Yeah. Usually it is Tracer who's supposed to TP out. I think those two are supposed to TP out, by the way.
Yeah.
It's alright.
It just depends on what you prioritize. It's just not having an Echo for... If you're playing more defensively, even aggressively, you kind of have to play defensively if you don't have an Echo, just because you need that sort of burst damage utility, as opposed to the Tracer, which can kind of just play your own video game.
Okay, so I remember we usually like to take Dojo here, but we remember that now we should be trying to move to point quickly. The scrim the other day, you guys remember what happened, right? We like lingered in this area for like way too fucking long and died. It doesn't really apply here because this is a different positioning. Just tell me to pause if you see something.
Can you go back? I want to see this engagement again real quick. What happened to your Tracer? What happened to their toast?
Oh, I don't remember, but since their Tracer came in so late, I thought the left side was clear. She just kind of came and fucked me in the back, if I remember right.
Yeah, you're on point.
Alright, can you pause? Go back a bit. Just like pause in the middle of that fight. Okay, so when you're coming out of Dojo here, you have to understand with Winston, your bubble is really, really fucking important. If you don't have bubble, you're kind of just a giant lump of ult charge with no real mobility, especially when you're going in with your bubble already and you're trading in your Zarya bubble as well. You have no real sense of any kind of defensive utility at this point. Like when you invest both your bubble and your projected Zarya bubble, while you don't really have any ground and you're down to DPS, that basically just opens up a window for their team to hold down W and literally do whatever they want to you. That can now bully you because you no longer have any utility to actually stop their push. And like you said earlier, you don't really have any kind of point control, so you don't really have anywhere to move outside of Bridge, which is just a funneled area where they can pump in any damage they want. And taking Dojo right here, you don't really have enough angles to stop their spam damage from their DPS. So you kind of just put yourselves in a really rough position. Your Tracer dying early, like I'm not going to rag on you too much because you know shit happens, but it's just putting you in a really tough position when you're using abilities like this. I think for the most part, playing in Dojo is generally fine. I think you have to be a bit more careful when you're putting both of your supports in that kind of Dojo area, because if they're Ana and Zarya or whoever wants to be a bit more aggressive, since your front line is already a bit preoccupied because their DPS is also taking an off angle, your front line can get really preoccupied for this engagement. So having both of your supports on that sort of angle without any kind of immediate peel, there's a kind of a disconnect from your tank line in that sense. It's risky if their team wants to try to capitalize off that. I doubt they will, but it's just something to look out for. You just need to be a bit more careful with your utility management as the team fight develops. Your support should already be jumping off the map. There's no sense in staying alive right now. Unless you really think you're gonna turn this around. Which, I don't... honestly, I don't know how you're dead. This team is just rough. With that being said, I mean, you're alive, so you can actually work with that. Quite frankly,
Yeah.
I don't think you should be.
I would agree.
But, I mean,
think they should've
we'll
just
take it.
Pushed us.
Yeah, I mean, I'll take it, you know, I'll take you guys not dying, but...
I agree. We probably should have jumped there and had a good reset. But we were actually able to hit the monkey to 1 HP, get the kill there, and able to turn it here. And now we have better positioning because they back to point pretty much.
So you're getting this engagement on the point, you're getting some picks, that's nice. Then the monkey and the infest duplicate. Your Zarya is still managing to pick up picks on the point. Your Brig is peeling adequately. The Echo duplicate here is a bit rough, especially if you are going to invest the nano boost as well. You guys kind of just need to be a bit more vocal with the ultimates that you want to use, because I think that's kind of an over-investment. You're already at the point where you can pretty adequately... What? Your Echo? What happened there?
He's a ringer, so.
Fair.
That's the excuse.
I'm
He is
pretty sure they like monkey ulted off the map, that's a bit rough. Okay, so you're both going to be trading Promala on these bridges, getting a bit of CC, and you do get a pick onto the Brigida, which is going to give you a lot more space in terms of playing aggressive. Okay, your monkey's fucking cracked. Calm down. So you get 2 opening picks in this fight, and from that point forward, especially with the rally, there's no real sense, or no real reality where you're actually able to lose. So the only real utility you're going to have coming up, though, is like Grav Pulse Bomb. So you're either going to want to look for an early pick with that Pulse Bomb to stop a push, or you're going to try to get a large group with the Grav and try to get a lot of cleave onto that.
Well, we know they're gonna go white here, so when they go white, it's usually pretty easy to get a pretty fat Grav.
It depends on how tight you are with ult tracking, because at this point they could have a rally, theoretically. So you do go for the Grav Pulse combo. You get all the picks off that, it's clean. Echo on the back line, I'm sure you clean that up.
Not a big deal.
Now, you will have Nano. I'm assuming you're going to want to Nano the Winston here.
Yep.
Yeah, you could potentially Nano the Echo to build ult, but...
Nah, it's not as good. Nano Winston's really strong for engage, especially if we know they're going to come through this left side here. It's tight chokes. He gets a lot of really good cleave.
Okay, so for this Nano Winston engage, I'm not opposed to that, obviously. I think it's a perfectly fine engage, especially when you're going in on a low mobility target like Ana, but I want to see a bit more coordination with your DPS lineup, because there's no real sense for your monkey to literally just go in 1v6. Or I guess 5v5 in that instance.
Winston.
Like just having your Tracer there for a little bit of extra damage can go a long way. Okay, can you go back 20 seconds and kind of just go up into the air for a bit? Oh, your Tracer got slept. That is very unfortunate. Okay, so I think the only thing that really screwed you over with this fight is the inherent lack of ultimate economy. Just poor ultimate rotations with kind of over-investing a couple fights ago. That being said, you got to 99. The only real thing you can typically do in that fight, getting slept there kind of sucks, but assuming you don't get slept, just having your tank lines just kind of go at it, and your DPS kind of just focusing on one target in the back line, because I'm assuming your Tracer wanted to go for the Ana. I'm assuming that's why you were back there.
I was back there because I was low, and
okay, so you're just going for
I
the
just
Mega
went
and
for
got
the
caught.
back. Yeah.
Okay,
I saw her alone and tried to go on her.
Unlucky. So your Echo takes like an ego duel with both of their DPS and gets picked, so that kind of puts you at a disadvantage inherently. You shield bash into your Ana, that kind of sucks. As long as you reset quick, you might be able to build Grav and Nano.
Yeah.
The biggest issue I'm seeing is just an inherent disconnect with your DPS and your tanks. It kind of seems like you're on different kind of frequencies. Like you both have a rough general idea of what you want to do, but you're not really going through with it.
So you think that's more of a synergy thing, just because we haven't played together with our tanks and DPS much?
I think it's synergy and communication. I don't think it's a composition issue. I think it could be by proxy, in the sense that when you're playing like Echo or Tracer in a ranked, it's entirely different than how you play like Double Bubble and Scrims.
Right.
But like I think for the most part, like your Tracer could be a bit more tight with like your Winston if you want to go for backline dives with nano engages. Your Echo, you said they were ringer, but yeah, they're going for like really unorthodox engages, trying to take like ego duels and getting picked out for team fights, which
He was
obviously
eager
isn't
to
ideal.
scram.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I can tell.
I won't deny that.
Orisa.
Yeah, Risa's a weird champ here.
That's interesting. The good news is that Orisa put down shield like 20 seconds before she needed to, so they don't have a Orisa shield for this push, which gives you a lot of ground to work with. And you have that actually, this is honestly great for you guys with them running double shield and your Symmetra. You basically just work to enable your Symmetra here. The Orisa rotates like a dumbass, you get to pick off of that.
Yeah.
And they use the Immortality Field trying to save her. Your Zarya kind of takes her own little engagement, gets to pick on the Reaper. At this point, this is just cleanup. You guys should win this pretty easily.
Yep.
Assuming that they don't swap, you just literally, you exist to enable your sim. Okay, they go to a real comp.
Yeah, they should be making swaps. They do make swaps here.
Okay, Tracer. Interesting. So you have a TP back to point. You do have that utility. The only thing they can really do is send their Tracer to flank and try to get poke damage and try to force resources off your front line. You don't want to pour everything into this Tracer. Kind of just let your Baptiste kind of poke at her if you can. Your Sim didn't quite catch up with that rotation. You guys did got picked out by the
I
Echo.
missed that call.
So now you have an Echo kind of uncontested. Never mind. Your Bap handles that pretty quick. They trade out the Bow Paw. You guys invest the Shatter. Just playing her on the LOS with this Bow Paw is perfectly fine. You actually managed to get a pick onto that Tracer. I don't know how you managed to do that, but nice. Pog. Questionable grab.
Toasty's cracked.
Big grab.
So I'm actually kind of this fight's actually developed really nicely because you've generally speaking invested minimal resources and forced more out of them, but particularly with that Bap wall. I think them losing Bap wall there is actually pretty big. You guys should be able to hold fairly comfortably, especially with the utility that you currently have.
Adaptive circuits engaged. Reinhardt.
Okay, do you have like an idea of what you want to do with that tire? Or did your Junkrat just go like, I'm ulting?
I'm pretty sure, at least in this fight, he was just saying he was ulting.
Okay, can you rewind? Okay, so primarily speaking, when you ult, can you pause? Right here, there you go. Okay, so primarily speaking, when you Junkrat ult, I guess this doesn't particularly matter since this isn't actually one of your players, but you kind of want to just play out of LOS and hopefully snipe their backline. If you can't snipe their backline, then going for the off tank, not the main tank. Unless you know that they don't have that bubble rotation, the projected bubble from their Zarya. Going for Reinhardt is kind of a throw. So you kind of already wasted one ult there. You do have the beat drop, and if you can continue stabilizing here and prolonging this fight, you will be able to get Sim wall as well as the Bap wall. And you have that beat for your defensive utility. So they duped, is that Rhine? Yeah, it's like squatting
Yeah,
Rhine. That's a weird fucking shape. Okay, keep it going. Let's see here. So your Zarya is taking a duel with their Zarya already. So yeah, you have two options here. Okay, you get shattered. Okay. Go and pause real quick. So inherently, I feel like you guys should probably already be able to tell this, but there's an obvious sort of overinvestment of ultimates there. I think in particular, you need to be a bit more communicative with your support ultimates because there's no real reason to go in for that beat drop after the shatter is already starting to recover, unless you like really think that your Reinhardt's about to die. There's no real sense in dropping the beat when you're already about to restabilize and you can use the Bap wall for a re-engage and to just pocket the shit out of your Reinhardt in that instance. The biggest issue is that you did both. So like investing beat there is fine if you think someone's about to die, if you just want to get a quick re-engage, and investing Bap wall is fine if you want to pocket your Reinhardt and get a re-engage with that damage from the Bap wall and healing from the Bap wall. But doing both at the same time and then losing 3-4 people and then investing your Sim wall obviously doesn't bode well. I don't hear comms, but I feel like they're just based on this. There's probably a lack of pre-fight and post-fight planning where you're kind of just like, okay, their team's dead. Let's sit here and wait for them. And then the fight starts, and you're like, okay, there's a fight now. I'm gonna hit Q, and you're not really coordinating on how you actually want to effectively use your ultimates. You're kind of just all independently deciding whether or not your ultimate's going to be good, rather than trying to collectively agree with your team on the best scenario in which to use it. Would I be correct in that assumption?
Yeah, sounds about right. Yeah.
So that's a big thing, because now they're going to have ultimate utility, particularly that Bat Ball. They're probably going to build Shatter as well. The good news is they did invest a lot of ultimates of their own. So this is going to be rough for the next, like, I'd say 2 team fights, unless you get a big Shatter or just an opening pick. You're going to have to either look for an independent opening from somewhere in your team lineup, or just rely on that Shatter, which I wouldn't particularly recommend. But you're probably going to lose the next team fight because of this. Good stall from your Lucio. I'm fine with that. Get into 99. Fuck him, dude.
Yes, sir.
So they're not actually running any kind of like real spam damage outside of maybe echo bombs. So you guys can actually really afford to just walk in. They won't really be able to do much as long as you don't walk straight into their front line. Both your supports did kind of just duel their trace there for a bit, which is kind of concerning. You guys get shattered. That sucks. You grab right after as well, which questionable. The Immortality Field manages to keep some of you up, but they're just going to collapse in. So this is like the same thing that happened with the Symbol last fight. Like, you kind of just have to realize when a fight is lost or when a fight is actually turnable. Wait for your team to stabilize before you invest more resources, because when you just chuck out a grab expecting your team to follow up on it right after they're shattered, and you don't really have like a solid green light, like it's just a wasted ultimate. Especially Graviton, like that could easily be a free fight win here if utilized properly. Your Reinhardt gets fucking melted. That sucks. So now y'all just a hold ass. Either die or get out. This kind of sucks. So last fight, your Zarya kind of jumped the gun. This fight, your Reinhardt kind of just held W until like everything that they have, which, you know, that usually doesn't end well. Okay, now there's an inherent disconnect, because your Sim and Baptiste, okay, there you go. You guys are actually rotating with them now.
Adjusting angle of attack.
It's a bit odd. Dude, what the fuck are these tires? I hate this.
I wouldn't
Big
worry
slam.
about them.
Alright, can you go back? Okay, so, already. You guys need to be rotating together a bit more quickly, because like it may not seem like a huge issue, like y'all get to server room anyway, none of you die, yada yada, but like those 5-10 seconds that you waste just deciding whether or not you want to go server room or push through main can literally mean the difference between winning or losing. Outside of that,
We had called to go through dark. It was just that our Ryan and people were already at the main entrance.
Someone called, let's go left, and there was an agreement. And I think me and Lifeline interpreted as go left, and then the rest of the team interpreted go main, and then left, and it was just...
so that would be what I mentioned earlier in post-fight planning. So after you guys die that last fight, after you get grabbed and you're kind of backing out, that time when you're all respawning is the time when you say like, hey, let's push left, go through dark, go through server room, whatever, and come out white and go to point. It's literally just, you know, like 10 words, that easy. And then everyone's like, okay, yeah, we'll do that. And it just stops stuff like that from happening. Yeah. You kind of just need to have a general idea of what you want to do. You don't have to have an exact plan. Like, you don't have to have a plan A, a plan B, a plan C, A through Z. You don't have to think about every little fucking detail. But just, like, saying a rough outline of what you want to do, or what you just plan on doing, and what you, like, and plan on investing in the team fight as things develop, and working around the utility that the enemy team has. So at this point, you should be like saying like, okay, they have Grav. You know, we might not want to group up as much, or like Baptiste needs to stay back a bit more than usual and play around Lamp. Maybe we can Bap wall the Zarya Grav, try to keep our team up, and then push up off that. We can, you know, shatter after the Grav, this and that. Like, there's a lot of shit that you can plan just based off of like 1 or 2 ultimates that they have, without even necessarily needing to think all that much into it. Like just them having Grav should already give you the grounds of like knowing what you want to do for this next team fight. But just like that lack of just that I guess that would be just a lack of synergy. I don't know how long you guys have been scrimming, but
Well, to answer your question, how long that we've been scrimming, the supports and tank line, we've been scrimming for like, how long was it, Pepsi or Crush? I forget how long it was. A couple months now.
At least since November. when
Yeah,
I
at
moved.
least
Before that.
Before that, even before for most of us. Yeah, we've just been down DPS since we've moved to moved here to Aether, Imperion, whatever the fuck this org is, or server.
yeah, that's fine.
But the core of us have been playing for a pretty long time. Yeah.
Okay, so just like that's mildly concerning. Just with like the disconnect there, because again, like it may not seem like much, but like if you're an attorney against a really good team, they're gonna fucking punish you for that. Just like
for
those
sure.
extra little seconds give them so much ground to work with, especially like it doesn't feel like you're planning around the ultimates they have, and it doesn't feel like you're planning on what ultimates you want to use or anything that you want to invest. It sort of just feels like you're walking in, and you're just like seeing their team, and then you're like, okay, we're just gonna fight them. We're playing Overwatch. Like it looks like you're playing ranked.
Mm-hmm.
Let's keep this going. I think you invest Junkrat Tire way too fucking soon in this fight. I think there's no like using Junkrat Tire as like an engagement tool is so fucking stupid when you're all engaging from the same angle. If your Junkrat wanted to flank and maybe go main, it could potentially work, but at that point he's gonna get picked out by the Tracer anyway. Really fucking stupid. You guys will have the symbol to work with, though. You invest the ultimates that you do have. You managed to actually get onto point. Their team kind of dropped the fucking ball and just played like really poor in terms of their positioning. They didn't get any ground with the time that they had. Like that rotation into Darkroom, like gives them plenty of time to actually set up at white and get ready for your engagement, and they just like didn't. And they kind of whiffed their ultimates as well, and they didn't drop dupe. Their pulse bomb didn't get anything, and you did manage to sustain through that graviton. I think your sim tried to TP out of the grav, which I appreciate the effort. you didn't quite get it, but I like small things like that.
Work,
Like
it
if
just
even
didn't really get you anywhere.
yeah, like small things like that. That like even if it doesn't work, the fact that you have that in your head is good. I like that. Because a lot of sims don't fucking do that for some reason. I guess people just don't realize you can actually TP out of it. So you guys opt to go for Tracer Echo as opposed to a sim comp, which gives your DPS a lot of angles to work with in terms of off-angling, particularly your Tracer and Echo. Your Echo can basically play her own video game right now. Same thing with your Tracer. Especially with the Echo, like their team really can't afford to engage aggressively like this. I don't know why the hell they're doing it. Like, literally, they walk into you, your Echo holds down right-click, and then hits E, and their fucking Reinhardt's just gone. I don't know what they think is gonna happen. They do come back to point. They cap, but you guys should be able to get a relatively easy cleanup here. Your Tracer so far, like, you kind of just been playing around the point. It doesn't really seem like you know what you want to do. But, like, okay.
That's
Can you pause?
accurate.
Test. Can you pause real quick? Okay, so like DPS is like my little key role. It's like the one that I hold dear to my heart. So it seems to me like on Tracer here, you have this idea of what you want to do. Like you want to play point, and you're expecting their team to play point, and you're gonna poke around, get their supports out, be an annoying little Tracer. You're playing the video game. But the minute that their team doesn't do that, you're like, oh shit. And then you kind of just like fumble around, and you're not really entirely sure of what you need to do next. That's like that. Things like that, they need to get ironed out like soon. I can't just immediately say some words that'll make you go like, oh yeah, that makes sense. I'll entirely change my mindset, because it is a mindset thing. Like I can't really say anything that'll make you not do that, because it's more of a mental. Just understand how to adapt. Like it's small things. Like Tracer, you have the same general gameplay archetype regardless of what their team is actually doing. So you literally just exist, at least in this sort of composition against this sort of team, is just to annoy their backline, try to draw resources out, and give your front line an easier time engaging the Reinhardt, right? That doesn't change regardless of where they're really positioned. And even if they are playing more aggressively, at that point you can still just coordinate either with your main tank or with your Echo, if you don't want to just like lurk in the back line. But staying so far back and just waiting for their team to do what you want them to do, that's just a waste of time. That in particular kind of annoys me.
Okay.
Grim me. Oh boy. So they use the Simwall to gain a bit of ground. You guys are backing up. The bat ball comes out. This is fine. Your Echo is about to get her ass eaten. Yep, that sucks. Your Zarya also falls to the bat ball. At this point, you either reset or die. Yeah. The good news is they did invest resources. They got that symbol and bat ball out. So them not having bat ball is actually pretty good, because now you guys can take a bit more aggressive in terms of your positioning on main, if you don't want to engage from that angle. Okay, so they're playing passive. Seems like, yeah, you guys... I'm not sure how talkative you are, but like that rotation from like your Winston in that instance. Like, I mean, it's not all on you, but like, it's you guys seem a bit slow to recognize what their team is doing. But Grav comes through. You guys both trade Gravs, but you actually managed to get a bit more value to yours. Honestly, okay, can you go back and bid again? Go up. I like that hurts, that kind of shit. Okay, that's interesting. You having a Reinhardt there actually kind of clutch. Actually gives you a lot more to work with than I thought it would. You should be able to flip point off of that. So, relatively speaking, you actually invested a fairly good amount of resources. Well, you just got Dupe and Grav. I mean, that's perfectly replaceable, especially since you traded Gravs that fight. I guess this, you know, fairly good start so far. Now you can actually afford to engage with a Nano.
Flight routine activated.
Okay. This is like stupid on multiple levels, and it kind of... it's questionable. You go back. Okay, so first of all, you should already know. Like, you hit tab, they're still running sim. Can you pause real quick?
Yeah,
they're still running sim. So, well, one, you either have to take an extremely aggressive... Like, you basically either have to walk into their fucking spawn or you play point. Right? Because there's no real world where you're going to be able to just immediately eviscerate this TP without your Echo, like, babysitting either main or that window. Which I think you do get the TP pretty quick, but if their team is, like, even slightly smarter, you know, they're going to be a bit more hesitant. Wait for you guys to invest resources and then just immediately TP to point when you guys have already used that Nano, because you won't really be able to do anything about it at that point. Because you get into this mindset where if you guys engage with this Nano, your Echo, eventually after the first like 2-3 seconds, your Echo's going to be staring at that doorway, and then she's going to get fucking bored, right? Nothing's happening. So she's going to fly back up and try to get damage in main. And at that point, they can TP in uncontested. And they've effectively flipped the map, and you guys have already invested resources. The early investment here is just the biggest sort of yikes, because you know that they have these options, this kind of utility. But you take that risk regardless. Now, I think you do destroy the TP here, which, if that splits their team adequately, your front line... Where is your Tracer here? Okay, you're top. That's kind of weird.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, this is going to be kind of rough, because now you're I guess basically you're on an Echo. We're going to have to deal with whoever's on point. Maybe your Brig, but you have to have someone to kind of help maintain your front line. And your Tracer is going to be frontlining as well, since this TP does get broken, I think. Okay, let's keep this going. But overall, just like, I don't like. Okay, they're okay. They're victory. Nice. This rally should keep you up through this Earth Shatter. You get the sleep into the Reinhardt as well. Pog. Love to see it. Okay, you're bullying that Ryan. That was fairly clean. I actually like that a lot. You boop him into the brig. He gets shield bashed the minute he tried that. He was not allowed to play the video game. That was nice. Getting clean up onto their spawn. So their team just kind of played like fucking idiots for the most part. Like they're McCree TPing and high nooning when he's anti-nated on 20 HP. Questionable, I'll say. I think overall, like, overinvestment of resources, a general disconnect in terms of like your tank line and your DPS lineup. I think for the most part, your tanks and supports did fairly well together. Like, I didn't have any real issues with that. But it just sort of seems like you guys don't really have an idea on what you want to do in pre-fight and post-fight. So you guys need to plan a bit more. You guys need to. I'm not sure if you're tracking Ulticami adequately because I don't hear comms, but. It doesn't seem like, even if you are ult tracking, it doesn't seem like you're planning around the ultimates that they have. Which, it's not like, okay, I'm not sure like the best way to word this. But like what I mentioned on like Control Center.
No, that makes sense.
Like, just like them having Grav already lets you know that your Baptiste needs to play a bit more back and that you need to save Lamp. And that you can use Bapwall as defensive utility rather than an offensive utility for a push. It's just small things like that can already sort of guide you onto where you generally need to go. But it doesn't really, like, at least just by the way you guys are positioning and rotating, it doesn't seem like you really care all that much. If you are ult tracking, which I assume you are, it doesn't seem like you really care what they have.
It tends to fall under the issue that we're not very good at fight planning. Is usually where our comms lack, and planning out like what ults we're using, where we want to be rotating, where we want to be kiting, all that things. That's usually where our comms tend to fall through, because we do ult track, we do have an understanding of what our how we're supposed to be playing our comps, but it is usually fight planning that we struggle with, at least in the past inherently.
Okay, so for like fight planning, it usually comes down to individual players. Like it doesn't necessarily have to be your main tank or have to be your main support or flex support or whoever that calls out what you're going to do in the next team fight. Like I played on a team with Josh, like TNS, and for our fight planning, because we also had a fair amount of issues with that. It would just come down to individual players saying what they want to do, and then people would add on to that. Or they would suggest what others could add onto it. So like Li Zhong, for instance, like if you want to push through Black or Darkroom and, you know, take the fight from there, like you can literally just, your sim player, whoever that was, Toast, I think. Yeah, you know, you can push through the Dark and Toast can go like, hey, you know, when we get to the story, I'm going to try to TP onto point, and then I can try to build sim wall, we can play defensively, and, you know, play around point. Just small little things like that, and then your main tank, like, just, even if you don't have an insane level of perception on what's actually about to happen, just giving your team some kind of idea on what they actually are going to do goes a long way. Even you don't have to get every little minute detail. You don't have to track every ultimate. You don't have to plan every resource that you're going to use. But just saying like, oh, I'm going to TP point. You know, let's play point. Already lets like your Reinhardt know. Okay, I'm playing point. I'm going to work with this angle. And already let your Baptiste know like, okay, we're playing point. I can maybe play Cliff, or I need to play a bit more defensively in this area. As opposed to just like holding W and kind of just like not really playing the video game, in the sense that you guys just kind of walk in and you play more reactively as opposed to proactive. You kind of just, you see their team doing stuff and you're like, okay, I guess I'll do this then, instead of taking some sort of initiative in the fight overall.
Okay. It's good feedback.
So again, that can be individual players. It doesn't have to be any particular shot caller. Like if you're playing, you know, Junkrat or whatever, or you're playing Zarya, you're playing Ryan, anyone, and you have an idea on what you want to do, just say it. It doesn't even matter if it's not going to work or if someone shoots it down. Just saying it, getting the idea out there, is better than not saying anything at all.